I know I asked you this last time we talked, Jeff, but let me just start at the beginning of where did Alta Rain come from? Obviously, you were very busy. It sounds like Tommy was also busy. Somehow you guys found each other, and now you've got this whole new venture.
Well, the all-terrain thing started back when I was in Boston working with Zach Stevens in the band Wicked Witch. And I just literally recorded on cassette all the jams and everything that I did with that band. Guitarist Matt Leff, the late Matt Leff, him and I used to just go in the room and just jam. But anyhow, I have like 25 cassettes full of ideas. Then some of it was repeat, but there was a lot of stuff in there that was really, really good that I felt, deserved to be finished, deserved to be worked on. So several years ago, Matt came down with cancer, and we lost Matt several years ago. Prior to that, I had asked him, are you cool with me taking some of these riffs? And I think I have a guy here locally who can handle this. And so he was good with that. So that guy was my friend here, Tommy Cook. And Tommy and I have known each other since 93. I think I moved back here to New York in 1993, and Tommy was playing in a local cover band called AKA. And oddly enough, I was doing follow spot for the production group that worked with him. And so actually, we had a great time. But watching Tommy play, it became apparent to me the guy's got the goods. He's a really good player, really good guy. Fast forward to 2019, I guess it was. And I had just gotten to a point in my life where I was thinking about all these ideas I had in my head. I had all these cassettes who literally were starting to deteriorate because they had gotten so old. So I started digitizing them. And as I was doing this, I started picking up these select little riffs and stuff. So anyhow, this has always been one of my bucket list things in my life I wanted to do, at least try. And we had a little get together here at the house, and Tommy was here, and I said, you know what, when I get home from tour, let's get together. I have something that maybe we can work on together, some original stuff. So yeah, I brought Tommy up, and I think Let's Go was the first song.
Oh, yeah.
It was either Let's Go or Witness, but anyhow, it was just one of these old guitar riffs on this cassette. And I said, Tommy, I've got this riff. I've got these lyrics. I have this song title and this melody. And thankfully, Tommy is a very forgiving person because my singing ability is very, very low on the scale. But I was able to get the ideas across to Tommy, what I was hearing, what I was thinking. And him and I put together a couple songs basically just with the two of us and really liked what we were hearing. We brought in our friend Kevin McCarthy on bass, started filling out the whole sound in the direction of what All-Terrain was going to be. Brought in a couple of other local guys, Colin Holloway on guitar and vocals and Zach Hamilton on keyboards and vocals. So the five of us basically wrote the first All-Terrain record, Mother's Day. And at the end of this was Jane Mangini, keyboardist in Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And, it's like with TSO, and you've been to the rehearsals and everything, everybody hangs out and, we should do something together. We should blah, 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 And so I was like, all right, I'm going to hit Jane up on this and see if she'd be interested. And I sent her, I think it was Thin Red Line and Witness, and she came back with some keyboard parts that was like, oh, this is perfect. She loved it. We loved what we were hearing, and that became the group at that point. So the first record, Mother's Day, was written and released back in 2021, and now we're upon the horizon, our sophomore release. So
Yeah,
it's really cool. It's a good project.
Yeah, and since you mentioned keyboards, it's a great place to jump into some guitar talk. Sonically, keyboards, especially when they get into certain, like organ, they can eat up a lot of the same sonic space as a guitar. So you don't want them to fight each other, but when you work together, you can create some really interesting layering. Just what's it like playing with a keyboardist and finding those cool little spots to go back and forth and to be on top of each other and to work together?
Oh, it's a lot of fun, and she's just so talented, I call her the magician, she's like makes everything magical. I come up with something and then she'll like harmonize with it, and wow. And my sound is just my sound, but she's got the magic. She's like, hey, let's try this sound on top of it. Um, she's the icing on the cake, I guess.
I think the first album was really guitar, bass, and drums. I mean, we basically had the whole album written. Jane came in and added on top of that. So right. It's almost kind of the reverse of what your question was. She was
right. Figuring out she found the space, right?
How was she going to fill in the space, add to it without stepping on anything? And of course, Jane's a pro. She's been doing this for a long time, and her sound library is so cool. She's got so many good sounds. But as we were talking earlier about the song Trees on Upon the Horizon.
Yeah.
That was a case where Jane, well, that song came about with an idea that I had. I talked with Tommy about the vocal, the lyrical idea. And musically, that song came about by myself downstairs recording that rhythm about 20 minutes. And I just played all these fills. I changed the beat up. I sent it to Jane. She came back to me with like a dozen different musical ideas, and I took that and arranged it and produced it. So this is where Tommy kind of came in and actually layered on top of Jane's work. So I don't know if maybe you want to follow up on that, but that was the case where Jane came first, and then the guitar came second.
Yeah, and then on Mother's Day we did it was on the song Shine. She came up with this one part of the solo, and if you're a guitar player, you're a guitar player, right?
Not compared to most real guitar players, but I own a couple of guitars.
But when you're playing with another guy, you kind of you could just watch them play for a few minutes and figure out, what they're coming up with, how they create stuff, And with Jane, she came up from a different school than I did. Came from the shredder school, where it's like everything was pretty much just like classical scales, and she's into jazz and she's into everything, So I had to copy her solo. I had to copy her solo. That was a feat. That was hard.
I think Shine was one of those. Escape, actually, the instrumental tune.
Oh my gosh!
On Mother's Day, Jane comes from a different place sometimes, and and I absolutely love it. But it's like Tommy said, she's the icing on the cake. She took this basically this raw, guitar, bass, and drums, this sound, and really polished it. At some points, I think she made it a little more accessible and a little more melodic and pop sounding. But in other places, it just became that much heavier, because she's got some really cool ideas, and her style of playing really fit well with this.
Well, speaking of a different place, Have No Fear really stands out. Is that a pedal steel I'm hearing in that? It's not just slide guitar, is it? No,
it is a steel guitar.
Wow. And then banjo, of course, makes an appearance.
Yeah.
You guys are kind of all over the place in that song. Like,
so
Have No Fear, you take me somewhere different, do you?
Hey, we're a progressive band, so there really is no boundaries, right? So
exactly. Yep.
This was something that actually Kevin and I sat down. Again, this is one of these ideas I had in my head for 15, 20 years, and the idea came about with my father had been diagnosed with cancer. Obviously, that was a pretty hard hit for all of us. At the same time, the dog that he had was failing. And I just, I felt so bad. And my best friend's best friend is dying. And that lyric popped into my head, along with Merle Haggard's Okie from Muskogee. Now,
Jeff, what's wrong with you?
I grew up on country music. So I Merle Haggard, hee haw, all that stuff. My father loved country music. But anyhow, that was the beginning of that song. And when Kevin and I sat down and started mapping this thing out, I said, Kevin, I got this idea for a progressive country song. And he's like, well, what is that? Like, we're gonna find out. So as we developed the song, brought Tommy in, do the vocals and the lyrics and set up a lot of these melodies. Tommy added all the guitar work, and here again, we kind of had the song, guitar, bass, drums, and keyboards. We had basically a finished product. My friend Joe Clapp, who does the final engineering and production, I mentioned to him, I was like, I can hear something in this song. I can hear either violin, fiddle, or steel guitar, banjo. And he's like, well, I got a steel guitar and a banjo. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. Here are the spots. Let's hear what you got.
Right.
And he came up with these parts, and I just think it adds a real, there's a sense of beauty and there's a sense of sadness that comes along with the steel guitar in the song, and I think it just marries it perfectly. So I was really.
And who came up with the little nod to Blue Oyster Cult at the end?
Well, that was you and I and Kevin.
We're just fooling around, right?
We came up with the end part of the song, "Life, Love, Let Live, and Laughter," and that was a key change, wasn't it? Then we have to modulate to something.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's
Yep. So while we were doing that, Kevin and Tommy are kind of messing around with riffs, what works here and what works here, and I was like, Tommy, that sounded just like "Don't Fear the Reaper." So then he played it, and it was like, oh my God, I gotta put this in there on the end of that. So
of course, have no fear and don't fear the Reaper. I mean, there's symmetry there. Like
absolutely.
You said, loss, talking about loss and in your life, and that's, not fearing the loss. So, I mean, there was a lot of symmetry already there before that refrain even came in.
Yep. We, the main part of the song is, obviously it's about losing your dog is where it started from, but it's losing anybody,
Sure.
Dog, cat, human, whatever. But it's like, my thought is, hey, we'll see them again. We do the right thing down here, we'll end up seeing them again in the next life. So that was the gist of that. But the "Don't Fear the Reaper" thing, I mean, huge Blue Oyster Cult fan, always have been since I was a young kid. And that seemed like a really nice homage to BOC right there.
Yeah. There's something I wanted to bring up before I wrap things up. Just a huge, passionate music fan. I know you are too, Jeff, and obviously you must be too, Tommy. I read a million rock books, and they start to blend into the background after a while, but I'm reading the Geddy Lee book right now. And it's really reminded me of the importance of music and how a song can literally change a whole person's life and change a direction of a life. And just talk about your passion for music and maybe even an occasion where you've connected with a fan sort of on that level.
Tommy, any particular song or anything that like lit that fire? Or...
Oh, you mean like for me?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. A lot of it, stuff I listened to inspired me. I think just listen to the words and stuff, and it's like, wait, we can do that. Because like when you're a kid, you feel kind of held back. Your parents are, don't do this, don't do that, and then you're listening to your music. It's like, wait, you might be able to do that. That would be awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Opens up the doors for your curiosity to go take a ride, man.
Yeah, for me personally, I mean, look at what music has done for my life, right? I mean, ever since I was a kid, music has always been there. And like I mentioned, my parents always listened to country music. As much as I didn't know any better, I liked it, but I also knew it was country music because I was also hearing other stuff on the radio. I was like, I like it a little bit better. But just through the years, it's just amazing how passionate somebody can be about music in general or a song in general. And there's a couple instances with Alta Rain where, for instance, Never Say Never on the Mother's Day album, that's about cancer. It's about my friend Matt having cancer. And now coming back to the Upon the Horizon album, Have No Fear, I've gotten so many messages from people like, wow, that really was a punch in the gut. I love it. So it's like how music can just affect you emotionally and mentally and personally. It really is just such a cool thing. Yeah, Tommy and I are both teachers. Tommy's got a full slate of students. I've got over 20 some students. Anyhow, seeing the young kids, trying to get this across to them, or seeing them, wow, I can actually play Back in Black now.
Wow.
Their eyes light up and you go, okay, this is exactly what this is all about.
Yeah.
These kids are learning a new language. They're learning coordination. They're learning so much stuff. It isn't just drum either, piano, guitar, whatever.
Right.
I love giving back to that. And the teaching part of my life now has really become really important. And it's a big part of what I do. So, but it's awesome just to be able to turn a kid onto music and see them be able to understand what it is that they're actually listening to.
Yeah.
Man, I've been all over the world. Tommy and I have both been doing gigs since we were 17, 18 years old. The amount of people that you meet and the amount of fun and happiness you bring across to people, it's such a cool thing.
Yeah. I think the reason the Geddy Lee book connected with me so much, I'll take it back to something Paul O'Neill said to me, obviously many years ago. But he said, Steve, you've been behind the curtain at Oz for too long. Sometimes you got to go back out and forget what's behind the curtain. And, when you're in the music industry, you listen a different way, you do things a different way, you consume a different way. It's good to go back every once in a while and listen like you're a kid again. And, to experience those things from different perspectives or for the first time or, whatever it is. So anyway, that's what that book has kind of sparked in me, and just a reminder of, it's good to just listen from that different perspective from time to time.
So Tommy, what was the first album you ever bought?
Kiss, Destroyer. My mom didn't want to get it either,
But that was a life changer, right?
Oh, yeah. I remember being in school when I was in elementary school, and one of my buddies brought it in, and we were allowed to listen to music during a music class. We were allowed to listen to records,
Yeah.
And my buddy brought it in, and I just remember staring at the album cover and just, what is that?
Yeah.
And then when we heard it, I was like, it was so magical. I was like, I gotta do that.
Yep.
I remember Chicago 7 was the first album that I ever bought. I think I was 11 years old. And I had seen them on television for some reason that connected. I go back and listen to that album now, thinking about the kid that I was when I bought that.
Yep.
It's so eclectic. It's all over the place. It's like I'm surprised I was that young and really dug that.
Yeah.
But fast forward, Kiss on the Midnight Special, and then Kiss Alive, and then it completely blew my mind and put me in orbit, and here I am. So,
yeah.
But the Kiss connection to so many of us. I mean, Tommy and I especially, he loves Ace Frehley.
Mm-hmm.
But that Kiss Alive record, I still listen to it today, and it makes me think about being young and excited. Looking for that energy again. So
it was big for me too. But I think maybe because I was so close to Detroit growing up, might have had something to do with it. But my first album was Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. Followed soon after by a few Kiss albums, but yeah, the Cooper stuff was first for me. So.
I remember seeing Alice Cooper on the Welcome to My Nightmare television show.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And that was a little like, wow, this is kind of weird. It looked kind of creepy, And that's exactly what it was meant to be.
Of course. Yeah.
But here again, taking it to the next step with Kiss. For some reason, it was just like, here I am, upstate New York. I got 3 television channels. I'm watching Hee Haw and American Bandstand, and next thing you know, these 4 guys are like aliens that just landed on planet Earth. Blew my mind. But
yeah,
along with all that, as I'm teaching, I still use the same teaching program that my teacher used with me when I was a teenager. And that really brings me back to a lot of the love of music and the exploration you were going through when you were younger. Because, you know, like Tommy said, all of a sudden you get to a point where you go, wow, I can actually do that. Now I want to try something else, you know, and one thing leads to another. So,
Yeah. Well, guys, all the best. You know, Upon the Horizon is out there. It's available now. Alta Rain sounds great. I love that you're keeping the progressive side of things going. You know, that's always been a sweetheart spot for me. I love progressive music. So thank you, and good to see you, and good to talk to you, and good to meet you, Tommy.
It's great to meet you too. Thank you so much.
yeah, thanks, Steve. Appreciate it, man.